what's happening on a Monday. The final week of the Dan Snyder era in D.C. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. Anthony, say hi to the internet. Hello. Hello, internet. Good to see you. Hope that you can join us. If you're driving home now, just flip us on when you get home. Fire up your smart TV. Go to the Team 980 on YouTube. Keep on watching us just like you would your afternoon television. It's your favorite radio show, so you might as well. Or at least you like us. You like us enough to listen. We'll work on being your favorite if we're not. If we already are, thank you. Might as well consume as much of the show as you can. But I want to start today. It is now, 4:05 Eastern Standard Time on July 17th, which means, Anthony Haney, that the NFL franchise tag deadline has passed. And I would just like to say, as someone who used to have to care about this way, way, way too much, I'm so happy this is a deadline that could pass for most Commanders fans without having to think about it at all. They obviously tagged Ron Payne. He got done before the free agency period even opened, if I'm remembering correctly. The weekend before. Hallelujah. But after all the time and energy that we spent watching this day for Kirk Cousins in years past and for others in years past, I would just like a quick hallelujah. Hallelujah. That we cannot have to care about this that much today. What we can do is watch the pain of other fan bases who are in a very weird space. Here's the latest. Nothing happened, which is significant in this particular case. So Adam Schefter, ESPN, has the details amongst other folks. Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs still have not signed their $10.091 million franchise tag tenders yet, so they can skip all of training camp without getting fined since they're not under contract. They would lose game checks if they miss regular season games. Dallas and running back Tony Pollard did not reach agreement on a long-term extension before today's 4 p.m. deadline for franchise players to sign long-term deals this season. Pollard will now play on his one-year franchise deal for becoming a free agent in 2024. Vic Tafur, who is, I believe, for The Athletic, covers the Raiders. Yeah, senior writer at The Athletic. He covered the Raiders for a long time. Said, we won't be seeing Josh Jacobs for a long, long time. This from Charlotte Carroll, who covers the Giants. She transcribed what Saquon Barkley said in July about the franchise tag. Would you play on the tag? Barkley, we got until July 17th, right? So I guess I would make those decisions or start thinking about that when July 17th comes. Is sitting out the season on the table? Like I said, I think that's a conversation. Like you said, that's a card I could play. That comes up in conversation if something doesn't get done by July 17th. We got a little bit of time in between there. When that date comes up, then I'll have to sit down with my team, sit down with my family, and make decisions, see what we're going to do, what's the game plan, what's the next move. Is that something you've thought about in the back of your mind? No, I haven't thought about it because it's not July 17th yet. So, one last note from Schefter. Anthony, this is nuts. The last time a running back signed a long-term contract worth $10 million or more per year was Nick Chubb in 2021. Nobody in the last 2 years has signed a $10+ million a year deal for multiple years as a running back.
That's sad, man.
It is. But is it smart? Is it smart? Because I would argue, as much as every running back is going to hate me for doing this, that's good business. Think about this. If you draft a really talented running back early, you think they'll probably be good? Like, you think Bijan Robinson will be good for Atlanta this year?
Most definitely.
What were Zeke's best years in Dallas?
His first couple of years.
Yeah. Do you think Saquon is getting better or slowing down?
It depends when he's out on the field. His first year, he was really incredible. Last year was really incredible.
That's true. That's true. I feel like Saquon's game is diversifying, which is nice and could extend him. But, like, I don't think people see him as quite the home run threat he was his rookie year because guys take a lot of hits and their top-end speed tends to drop. Jacobs is a bit of an anomaly. Jacobs was absurd last year. Yeah. But generally speaking, the younger players are the ones who crush it at running back. So if I know that I can draft a running back high, he's going to be awesome for me or almost immediately. It may be the easiest position to transition in the league. You're awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the most basic of football. Like, there are complications to running back. I'm not saying that. You have to, really be on top of the details of your tracks in the NFL. Like, you can't take something 2 yards wide and then make up for it with talent because the defenses are too good, too fast, too smart, too good at anticipating, too hard to block. So I'm not saying it's a position for dum-dums. I'm not saying it's not hard. But at the end of the day, if you can make people miss and you're fast, you can run away from people, that translates to the NFL level if you're actually that good at it. Then if you can pick up the other stuff, especially if you can pick up pass protection and become a 3-down back, you catch the ball well out of the backfield and you go to an offensive coordinator who can get you the ball in space, you're super valuable immediately. Immediately. Unlike other receivers that take some time to translate to the league. You're then going to have your best years early before you accumulate a lot of NFL hits, and you just naturally get older. People tend to not top out on speed at 27. They do it at 22, 23. And you got 5 years of control if that player is a first-round pick. You also now have a franchise tag that is less expensive than it was a decade ago. It's the only position in the league where that is true. So, Anthony, if I were to tell you, our team, whoever, we're in charge of whatever team you want, can draft a first-round running back, get way above average production, have one of the 7 best guys in the sport for, let's say, 5 of 7 years, and never commit multi-year veteran long-term money, would you sign up for that?
I would sign up for it. But quick question on the back end of things. Say this guy's a disgruntled, player, and he really wants a long-term deal. Say you got the Josh Jacobs and Saquon. Then what do you do?
See ya. We'll draft another one. We'll do it again. Like, that's cold, but that's business.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because I don't know what to tell a running back. Like, if I'm an agent and I'm having this conversation with a running back, I'm like, look, man, if we can get you signed as soon as you're extension eligible, like, the guy who did it right from a money standpoint is Zeke. The second Zeke became extension eligible, he's like, I'm holding out for everything I can get. And he was lucky enough to be playing for an owner at the time who was really trying to push for a Super Bowl and knew that Zeke was a big part of it. But almost instantly after he signed that deal, Zeke wasn't the same guy. They used him so much his first 2 years that he just wasn't quite as explosive in years 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think that's what you have to do. You can't Josh Jacobs and bust out in your contract year. By then, it's too late. You should have had an extension 2 years ago. But teams don't want to give that. So it's going to become this cat and mouse game of, like, can you convince your team and can you leverage yourself? But the problem is running backs, unless you are truly special, like Bijan might wind up being an exception. But unless you are truly special, your backup's not that much different than you.
Are you expecting, I guess, as, these things continue to go on, running back contracts to be more incentive laden? Because, again, like, you don't want to give a running back all this money up front and then they end up like a Zeke where, they're in and out of the lineup, not as explosive, not putting up the same numbers that they were prior to the extension. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm expecting a decent amount of guarantee money, still below the $10 million, but and upwards of being able to, add on a couple of $4 or $5 more million.
If I was an agent, that's what I would try to do. And what I would probably do is, I don't know whether this would technically be a team or a player option, but, like, if my guy plays 16 games or 15 games or 14 games, can we guarantee the second year? Can we get rolling guarantees so that if my guy stays healthy and produces, maybe it's 14 games and 1,100 yards. Now my guarantee, we do it again. We run it back. Same contract.
Yeah.
It's 9.5 guaranteed. If I get 1,200 yards, I don't know how this works with the salary cap, so I might be totally talking out of my behind here. But 1,200 yards, then I get another $2 million. 1,400 yards, it's another $2 million, whatever it is. And then if I hit 1,100 though, and I play at least 14 games, next year I get the same deal. It's a rolling guarantee. That's what I would be trying for, but it's hard because they can also make the decision. They can make a snaps decision to make sure you don't produce if they're ready to move on to a younger guy, and they're probably going to draft one. So it is tough. It is tough. Saquon Barkley is a special talent that's going to help the New York Giants win a lot of football games if he plays in them. He's one that I would almost consider an exception. Josh Jacobs, the way he played last year, I would consider an exception. But do I want to guarantee that they're going to be exceptional for the next 3 years? Absolutely not. The nature of the position tells me otherwise. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, coming up for the rest of the show, 4:30 today, Anthony Armstrong, former Washington receiver, is going to join us. Anthony, what do we got? What else we got today? We're going to continue our Best of the 21st Century series. I think we have the NFC North today.
AFC North.
I think we're going to do NFC.
Okay,
I might have put AFC in the rundown, but I think we've done NFC, AFC, so we'll just keep going with that. It is the last week of the Daniel Snyder era, so we will do some reflection on that next. Plus, this is something I'm really looking forward to at 5:30. Lionel Messi was introduced this weekend in Miami for Inter Miami FC and MLS, or Inter Miami CF, and they had a stadium full of people to watch this man get handed a jersey and introduced. What other athletes could get the Messi treatment in American sports? That's coming up at 5:30. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. So I'm going to apologize to the radio audience for just a moment. I will do my best to describe this predicament that I'm in. It's just easier if I show you for the streaming audience. Anthony, I have a snack over here. Also, bless you. Good gracious. I've never seen anybody sneeze and have like second and third reactions to a sneeze like Anthony does. He sneezes and then it's like boom, boom.
It's like what takes over me, man.
It's like you dab and you're like double, triple. I don't know what happens there.
I wish I could explain it as well.
Anyway, so I have a Greek yogurt little snack here. And I went to open my spoon, my plastic spoon, and Anthony, the top broke off. So I'm eating with what looks like it's almost like, you know when you go to an ice cream place and they give you the little trial spoons?
Yeah, the little baby one.
It's like that, except for the stem is that size, and the spoon is full size.
Mm.
So that's not ideal.
Very unique setup you have over there.
So my question is, would you, I should put this up as a Twitter poll. Would you, I'm probably not, but I would. Would you go get another spoon? Or would you just eat like I am and be lazy and just go that? The kitchen's a long way, man.
I would be lazy and definitely just scoop. Have you ever seen me eat, well, you can't necessarily do it with yogurt. I've done it with applesauce where I just don't use a spoon.
Yeah, you could drink applesauce if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But especially because I have like I crumbled up something, a little honey stinger waffle into my yogurt. So, you have another spoon. Do you need that spoon?
I don't.
Okay, well, we might have you bring it over here in the commercial break. And now I'm very glad I mentioned this on air because the spoon. Shoot, Anthony, I will even come to you. Walking out and around into your studio is a lot easier, less time. Because by the time I got to the kitchen and got back with a new spoon, I'd be able to take like one bite and then we'd be back in the segment. Yeah. So that's not ideal. Anthony Armstrong's going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour talking about Terry McLaurin and talking about this Commanders wide receiver core. Right now, though, Anthony, as in Anthony Haney, can you believe it? We have made it to the final week of the Dan Snyder era.
Come on. That's what we got to do. Clap it up.
Clap it up.
Almost there. Last half week.
All right, sold on 3. 1, 2, 3, sold. So it's pretty remarkable to think that this day is here, and like, I don't know, it still doesn't feel real because it's not yet. The vote still has to happen on Thursday. But it is the kind of thing that, just the idea of it seems so foreign even a year ago. And that's the thing that I keep reflecting on is when we talk about this sale and the idea that Dan is not just going to sell part of the team or, there's no way out. He's so ashamed, he's so whatever, or just doesn't want to be here anymore that he's going to live in London. Which, to be honest, man, like London's great. I wish I could go live in London on many days. But he's, for a guy that like grew up loving this team, and for a guy whose entire identity was being the owner of this team, he's just like, yeah, okay. I want to be nowhere near it. I can't stand, or not that he can't stand the thought of it, but just like, I know, even he knows he is not welcome here. It wasn't like this is, like, it feels like it's been coming for 3 years, but it actually hasn't. It's been 8 months. November last year was when the Bank of America announcement happened. And it both feels like something that's been inevitably coming forever, but also happened very, very quickly. If I had told you in November of last year, hey, by the time next season starts, Dan's out, you would have been psyched. It's only because of how this process has gone down with seemingly a couple of hiccups along the way and all these last-minute legal snafus or snags or reported snags, potential snags, indemnification being the boogeyman in the closet that seems to jump out every time there's good news. Like, that's the only reason that it doesn't feel probably as pure and as clean as, and it feels like we've been through it like we have or like we do. But at the end of the day, like, I think that final release will truly come. And I'm just imagining it. And look, there's a very good chance that it happens on our show. From what I heard on Kimes' podcast earlier today, it's like a 1 or 2 o'clock meeting. It might have been even like 1 Central, 2 Eastern, because it's in Minneapolis. Which means by the time that it's done and the vote happens and all that kind of stuff, like, we could open the show with Goodell announcing that it's done. So we'll ultimately see how the timing plays out. Obviously, everyone come hang out with us. We're anticipating it'll be done before doors open, but maybe not. Maybe right as the doors open to our Burgundy and Sold party on Thursday, it'll be like, hey, welcome to Burgundy and Sold. Guess what? They just sold. But it is going to be, I still think, a pretty massive, like, for as many mini celebrations as we had, I do feel like Thursday is going to feel like the one that we've all been waiting for. And I didn't feel that way necessarily a week ago, but I do think, I mean, part of that is, like, as we're throwing something together and, like, everywhere I go, people are mentioning this thing. Everybody's heard about it already, which credit to you know, our folks who have gotten the word out. But, like, I actually think this is going to be the kind of celebration that this moment deserves, even though it's been a slow roll, a slow trickle to get to this point.
Yeah, I think I'm just most excited to see Josh Harris's first action item as new owner. I think that's more so what I'm looking forward to. Yes, I need to wait and be patient for, you know, the Thursday official sale to go through, but I think I'm just looking forward to, like, what's next. And I think that's just where I'm going to be until, you know, Thursday, Friday, whatever it is.
Yeah. I think people need to chill out on, like, stuff happening immediately, though. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's this idea that some people have that, like, he's going to come in and stuff's going to happen. And it's like, no, he's going to come in and he's going to be like, all right, what's everybody's name?
Yeah.
This is insert person here. He's going to be my liaison to come back to me. Like, keep doing your jobs. Let me know if you need money for stuff. Like, it's not going to be. Clinton said this on the show a while back, and we'll break here in a second and get to Anthony Armstrong coming up in about 3 minutes. But Clinton said this a while ago. Day one for Josh Harris ain't that different from the last day of Dan Snyder. It's the next year, 2 years, 5 years of decisions that get made that will change this franchise. It's what happens with the stadium. It's what happens with personnel, executives, coaches, etc. And it's just the day in, day out ability to pay people competitive salaries in a hyper-competitive industry and recruit the best talent, something this organization has not done in 25 years. And that stuff can be the mission from day one, but they're not gonna, like, get rid of people and hire a bunch of new people on day one. That's just not in the cards, nor frankly should it be. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, former Washington receiver Anthony Armstrong joins us here on the Team 980. Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It is our pleasure to welcome to the show Anthony Armstrong, former Washington receiver, also host of the Washington podcast on the Believe Football Network. Anthony, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Man, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. I can say this. Wasn't expecting that choice of music coming in. I appreciate that, man. And we gonna make it. I like that. Who chose that? Was that your choice?
It's definitely on my list. Haney's definitely in charge of all of the music, but we've got an approved list. Occasionally he'll go off script and we got to rein him back in, but that was a good one.
I'm not mad at it. I appreciate it.
So I want to talk to you about a bunch of different stuff, but I want to start talking to you specifically about this receiving core here in Washington. Obviously, for those that don't know, that was Anthony's position, played it very well here in D.C. So when you watch Terry play, he was just rated one of the top 10 guys in Madden, which take that for what it's worth. There's a million rankings going on this time of year. He's somewhere between the 5 and 15th best receiver. I would say he's probably closer to 5, but that's just my own personal opinion. What do you see when you watch him, though, and how does that compare to some of the elite guys in the game?
Man, Terry definitely is starting to get the credibility and the respect that he deserves. If the statistics don't blow you away, he's consistently around 1,100, 1,200 yards. But you got to think he's played football with about 20 different quarterbacks. So he's had success in spite of that situation. And I'm glad that he's finally getting recognized as one of the top guys in this league. I think he falls in that 8 to 12 range, depending on how you want to argue it. He's able to go up and win the 50-50 ball. You saw the play against Stephon Gilmore, one of the best corners in this league. He gets to see him twice this year. So he's not afraid of that matchup. He's able to do everything he can to help get the ball down the field, run after catch, getting open on third downs. And even when you knew he was getting the ball, Terry was able to go out there and make a play. He's definitely one of the top guys in the league.
Yeah, Terry's a guy that reminds me a little bit, just in terms of the production stuff, of Santana. Like, Santana and I have talked about this. Obviously, you played with Tana for a lot of years. Like, if Santana had good quarterback play, or even consistently, average quarterback play, he's probably in the Hall of Fame. Like, Santana was that good. And while Terry's got a long way to go to be at that level, just in terms of he's young and still not there, I do wonder with a quarterback, even this year in Sam Howell, who perhaps plays a little bit more to Terry's strengths, what he can do. And, I would love also to get your perspective on this. What does it mean to now have Jahan Dotson in year 2, Curtis, and some of these other weapons? How can that free up Terry?
Well, you finished with a great point with when you look back at Terry's history. Yeah, having a true, strong, consistent threat at that second receiver spot has been one thing that has really hindered his production. When everybody knows you're going to get the ball in key situations, third downs, et cetera, they're going to key on you. So now having a Jahan, having Curtis, especially healthy Curtis Samuel, is going to be huge for Terry's numbers. I really think his numbers can go up this year. I think he should, probably catch over 100 balls, 100 touchdowns would be great, but catch over 100 passes and clear 1,300 yards receiving. I think that's very doable, even if you have a couple of the pass catchers out there. Comparing him to Santana, that's definitely a lot of respect. And I can see that being a true statement. Whenever you're going to get the ball, you're going to go to 89 in those key situations. People are going to pay attention to what you're doing. So having some help on that opposite side is really going to help this whole offense flourish. And there's always an EB effect about it, too. I think that you got to just know he's going to put a little extra spice on some things that are going to make some things easier for those guys.
So that's what I was going to ask you next. Anthony Armstrong's with us here on the Hoffman Show. EB has, I would say, a very difficult job because there is a ton of skill talent to get the ball to. So many different guys who are talented. He's also got essentially a rookie quarterback, second-year guy with 1 start and 16 passes under his belt. And he's getting to know this personnel as well. So if you're Eric Bieniemy, how are you approaching getting the ball to all these playmakers this year and in a way that's conducive to all their success with all the limitations but all the ability in this giant equation?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. It's kind of like putting together just the perfect recipe, the perfect food. You got to have all the right ingredients. And first and foremost, I think you have the right temperament of guys in that room that understand they each play 1/11 of what's going on that offense. And if you go back and look at the success that Kansas City's had I don't think you're going to really see anybody banging on the table saying, "Get me the football. I need to catch 150 passes." That's not what's going to happen here. You got guys that are scrappy, they're hardworking, and frankly, you see what EB's done. He's been able to throw the ball around. I was recently looking at the tape of Kansas City versus Jacksonville. They were down a few receivers, and I didn't realize how much time they spent in three tight end sets. They did so many things in different packages to get different guys in. So if you execute in this offense, you know that the ball is going to make it your way. And as dangerous as everybody is with the ball in their hands after the catch, that's going to be even more of a reason to execute on your, if you're the decoy on this play, just understand it's going to come back to you that you're going to get your chance to do something with it later. So I don't think it'll be a problem at all. I think EB is going to just really light a fire into these guys to play at an even higher level.
One of the things that I think has been interesting over the last couple of years is kind of the general thoughts around the NFL about how to best insulate a quarterback. And Kyle is obviously someone who has played a leading role in this, where it's like, no, the way to insulate a quarterback isn't necessarily to just run the ball 50 times, because then when he has to pass it, it's bad down in distance and you're putting a lot on his plate. So how do you think they set up game plans to make Sam successful, knowing that what you just said, this is what triggered the thought, is like, if you get the ball quickly to these guys, they can make plays. So how do you set up a successful game plan to mix the run in successfully, have the right amount of play action, the right amount of drop back to kind of maximize, maximize all the pieces, but looking at it through that lens of insulating Sam in a way that he can be successful?
Sure, sure. The one thing about the NFL is they're going to make you do what you're not the best at. If you're going against Sam, I know they're going to see a lot of 8-man boxes. They're going to try to shut down the run as much as possible. They're going to test that offensive line. So EB is going to call quick plays. They're going to spend a lot of time throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage, frankly. Some screens, just quick, get the ball to Antonio Gibson. He's going to be a matchup problem against linebackers coming out of the backfield. So play calling that way is going to be huge. Just being able to get the ball to your playmakers, that's going to get teams out of that blitz. And overall, don't make him make any – he doesn't have to make any crazy decisions. Don't put too much on his shoulders. I think there's enough variety in what Bieniemy was able to do last year. And Sam, I like that he's already looked at the playbook once he knew that EB was going to be the guy. And once he found out he was the coordinator, he was already looking at Kansas City film. So he started to kind of get an understanding of how to run the offense. And is he Patrick Mahomes? No, not yet. But when comparing the two, watching, just tape a little bit of both of the guys, there's some physical traits that you can look to Sam and say, okay, he does understand how to get the ball out of his hands quickly. He's not freaked out or scared under pressure. So I think everything's going to be fine. You just, I don't want him to throw 45 times a game. I don't think that's it. But having him limit him to like 25, I don't think that's it either. You got some playmakers out there. They're going to win one-on-one. And he's accurate enough with the ball that's going to gash some defenses.
I also think that there's kind of the extension of the running game stuff that you mentioned, right? The screen game and stuff like that. I'm in a very, schematic adventure mode right now. I listened to the podcast series, The Play Callers, about how Kyle and Sean and everybody came up with that, this modern version of this West Coast offense and how it's evolved over time. And I'm curious for you, as someone who was here with Kyle in 2010, 2011, the year before, obviously, they change everything around and make it work with Robert on that 2012 team. Like, did you see any baseline level stuff that they built on in 2012? Some things that even you see with, say, San Francisco now or LA now, or what McDaniel's doing in Miami, what LaFleur's doing in Green Bay. Did you see some of those baseline level things start to come together, the start of this revolution?
Man, when I think about that 2010, just offense, I feel like that was mostly old school, Houston, Matt Schaub, Arian Foster, very much a stretch game. Now, you don't see that much anymore. There's not a lot of guys who are just lining up in, 2 tight end, 12 personnel and just trying to run stretch and get on the edge now. Now it's a lot of motions, and you're seeing a lot of creativity in how you get people into different places. I think that for the most part, Sean McVay and Kyle tend to stay a little bit more towards the traditional side of what's been going on there. I'm intrigued to see just how Miami goes creatively versus where San Francisco goes creatively, because obviously Mike McDaniels took a lot of that brain knowledge down to Miami, and the way that he attacks defenses is, frankly, he he hits them in a different spot than what you normally would get gashed in those zones. So he was very creative in how he did that. So it's interesting to see everybody have their own little nuances to it, right? Depending on everybody has a different a superstar player, if you will. Christian McCaffrey gives you a lot of ability to do basically whatever you want out of the backfield. Run it, throw it to him. He's going to get open. Makes it easy on a Brock Purdy or whoever is under center. Then Tua has just a plethora of receivers and so much speed that you just have to find a way to get them the ball in their hands in stride, and then they're going to gash some defenses. And then Sean, I mean, he's got a crazy route runner in Cooper Cup, so he just almost has a weight on him to get open and then deliver the ball. So they've all found a way to have some success with what they've been given. But it's been an interesting change and evolution for sure.
For sure. Obviously, a lot of response to what defenses are doing as they change as well. Just this constant cat and mouse game. So, Anthony, where can people find the podcast? Give them more information if they want more insight from you.
Oh, man, y'all check me out on the Believe in Commanders show, all your favorite streaming platforms. You can tune in over there. There's some on the Believe Network's YouTube as well. And I've been posting some things on Twitter. It's at Rated Armstrong now. That covers all the social media. It's all the same.
There you go.
Don't have to worry about anything being different.
Love that. Love that. Nice and easy. Anthony, this was great. We'll definitely have you back. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Man, appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's Anthony Armstrong, everybody, with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, we will take a look at what else happened this weekend, our weekend review here on the Team 980. All right, Anthony, it's time to look at what else happened this weekend. That is a $5 fine for me. God, I don't think I'm going to find myself for not bringing the whiteboard, but I did forget to bring the whiteboard.
Oh man,
I got to...
maybe that's a 50-cent offense.
No, I think that's just something we're going to have to correct tomorrow. What time do we think I'll leave tomorrow? I probably won't leave before 2.
I'll remind you.
Oh, I was going to have Siri remind me because,
Okay.
frankly, I trust Siri to remind me a lot more than I trust you.
Yep.
Because it's not that you would be bad. It's just there's a 100% chance Siri remembers.
Yep.
And you're not at that level.
Nope.
So what time do we think? Or do I just do it when I know I'm going to be home tomorrow? And that way I can put it in my backpack. Let's go. Let's check the calendar. Let's see. What do we got going on tomorrow morning? Nothing. Okay. Hey, Siri, remind me at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow. Whiteboard. She did it. She just didn't. I was going for the bit where she would respond out loud.
Was she
good at reminders, bad at radio bits?
Repeats what you just said.
Yeah, because she does that at the worst possible times. And then there she's just silent.
Yep.
So what we've learned, Siri, excellent reminder. Terrible radio producer and co-host. Anthony Haney, good reminder. Excellent radio producer.
I'll take it.
Take that. That is your job, not to remind me of stuff. Okay, time to look at what else happened this weekend. Brought to you by no one. There was a lot of just random stuff happening. The biggest event of the weekend was the WNBA All-Star Game, which was certifiably hilarious. They had players mic'd up during the game, and I would just say I don't know whether they'll replay it on NBA TV or if it's possible to go back and watch on like the ESPN app or something like that. But the segment of the game where Brittany Griner was mic'd up was one of the funniest 5 minutes of live sports television I have ever watched in my entire life. She was just having a great time. She was talking trash. It was also funny every time a player was mic'd up because the other players on the court didn't realize that they were mic'd up. And so with Griner, they kind of just let her talk because she was filling the space. But like Asia Wilson got mic'd up and Ryan Rucco and Rebecca Lobo on the broadcast are asking her questions and she's answering them. And everyone else is like, who are you talking to? It just seems like you're talking to yourself, getting interviewed by no one. Like you're practicing for your post-game interview or something. But the Griner stuff was great. And I will say this. If you watched Griner play and saw the joy that she had and the joy that others had by seeing her just play the game that she loved and be out there, considering where she was a year ago, which if you don't remember is in a Russian prison. I would say you need to go find a soul, but I would just say you need to go to therapy. Like, you gotta, there's something wrong. Therapy is the place where you can work it out. Go to therapy. That was incredible. Like, one, it was heartwarming to the point of, like, you wanted to cry happy tears. And two, they had so much fun. And to me, that's what an all-star game is at its best. It is the most childlike version of the game where the stakes could not be lower, but you also get to understand just how obscenely talented the players are. And when you watch like Sabrina Ionescu, who, by the way, Friday went nuts in the three-point contest. That happened while we were on the air on Friday. She puts up the best three-point performance that has ever been seen in any three-point contest in the NBA or WNBA or college all-star games or anything that I've ever seen. But in the game, she hits like 3 of the 4-point shots in a row. You have other players firing away from 28 feet. You watch the scores just skyrocket up. You know, they're scoring 140 points in the game or whatever it was. Like, they're just so obscenely talented that for all of the, and this happens in the NBA in a major way, when it's like, oh, they don't play defense or whatever. Like, if they really don't play defense like they don't in the All-Star game, because they did not play defense, you see how skilled they are offensively and how easy it is to score. And I actually find that kind of refreshing in the middle of a season to see players having that much fun and to be reminded how good they are. And we got check and check on Saturday for the W All-Star.
Unfortunately for me, I did not get to see much of it. I did see some highlights though.
You did, which gets to you went to Broccoli City Festival this weekend.
Yes.
How was that?
Broccoli City Festival was fun. Saturday, it ended up being shortened because of lightning in the area.
Not ideal.
Yeah, so I didn't get to see Jasmine Sullivan and Lil Uzi. I wanted to do I just want to rock a little dance.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do that.
We can let you do it coming out of the next commercial break.
Hey, I might. But
now, if you're not tuned into the stream, I would suggest getting there before 5 o'clock. YouTube.com/@theteam980.
They did refund people that went there on Saturday.
That's nice.
So that was nice. And then yesterday was pretty good. It would rain on and off, so I didn't get caught in the rain, luckily for me. But
who's your favorite person that you did see?
I saw Kodak Black,
Oh,
and he was the only person I really wanted to see on Sunday. Coco Jones is really good, really good.
I feel like is that the artist that went kind of viral over the weekend? Like people were like, "Yo,
yeah. Singing in the rain."
Singing in the rain. Yeah. I gotta check that out. I saw that flash across Twitter one too many times for me to not click it, but I was doing other stuff. Yeah,
she had a great performance. But all in all, it was pretty good.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I was doing.
My weekend, Saturday, super fun. James Smith Williams, first ever football camp.
QB Craig.
I was out there. I was out there running the kids through DB drills. God, I was mad at myself though, Ant, because I was lazy with my mechanics.
Oh.
And all of a sudden we're going through. So like there were two groups that we split them up into like an older group and a younger group. And then within those groups, there was two groups. So I ultimately had to run like the DB drill 4 times. And I had to throw some balls, not just like little flicks, but I had to like actually get a little bit into a couple of them.
Step into it.
Yeah. And I was just lazily throwing with my arm. And I looked at Chris at one point, who's my training podcast co-host, and he was there helping us out coaching. It was actually crazy because Logan was there as well coaching. So I had both of my podcast co-hosts there coaching with me. Which was really fun. And I looked at Chris and I was like, my arm is about to fall off. Like this is not good. He's like, you want me to throw? I was like, yeah, you can throw these deep balls. You're the one who came up with this rail route drill where we're throwing balls 30 yards down the field.
Oh wow.
But then I gave my arm a little rest and then got the hips into it and we were doing all right.
There it is, baby.
But I was like, why was I lazy? Why was I arm throwing? What an idiot. That hurt. But it was really great because, one, James he's a different cat from other NFL guys. And there's a lot of great men in the NFL, but James Smith-Williams is a very special person. And the way he thinks about the world is just different in a great way. And this camp not only had an on-the-field element where you had coaching from James, a current NFL player, Logan, a 10-year vet. By the way, Logan coaching, maniac. Absolute maniac.
Wow.
Oh, my God. Like, he immediately got into Coach Logan mode. He was like, all right, let's go on the hop. Here we go. And he was in it. And we're all like, okay, we know who's bringing the juice to this camp. Oh, my God, it was so fun. And then Chris, who's, top flight trainers, trained a bunch of NFL guys. I've trained NFL guys before, alongside Chris, more of an assistant role. But, I know what I'm doing out there in terms of the drills that I was in charge of. So it was really, really fun. And then there was an indoor portion where it was more on the development of the human beings, which is really important specifically for young men as they try to find their way in the world. So really, really special camp. It was super fun. And we all were wearing bucket hats because what you learn, Anthony, is that when it's 90 degrees outside and the sun's coming down, you got to wear a bucket hat to protect yourself. It doesn't matter how. Luckily, Duncan was out there with their Duncan charity cruiser, and they also had some giveaways. And one of the giveaways was a bucket hat. So your boy was rocking a Duncan bucket hat.
Did you have on sunblock?
Yeah, I didn't need much though because most of my body was covered.
I was about to say you definitely did have on a long sleeve.
Yeah, I had on a UV shirt, which is the pro move, and I had on some longer leggings. But then I sunblocked up the neck. But between the sunblock and the bucket hat, was fine.
Yeah.
Pro move right there. Also, what else happened this weekend? Steph Curry hit a hole-in-one and won a charity golf tournament, which is hilarious because remember how they introduced him last week?
Exactly. How
We
to
played it in
introduce
Real
them.
Things. He's never won the big one, the American Century Championship at Lake Tahoe. Well, guess what? He eagled 18 on the final day to win. Super fun weekend. If you haven't seen the highlights of that, you should check it out, and we will have audio of the hole-in-one in Real Things to end the show today. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, we're not going to have Not My Beat today. No super big top story, but ranking season is continuing. Terry McLaurin, top 10 receiver, according to who? We will tell you next here on the Team 980. There he goes. Yep. All right. This is what you couldn't do on Saturday. But here we go. Yep. All right, it's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Real quick before we get to all the Madden rankings, and Anthony, it was funny because Jeremy Fowler did his rankings, top 10 every position. They're coming out day by day this week, so we'll definitely be talking about them a little bit more as the week goes. But it's the GM and like he polls a bunch of executives, and I remember distinctly these coming out last year at the same time and us going through them. But we'll get to some of those and the Madden rankings in a second. I should mention, though, we were talking about James's camp. That camp was put on. The whole reason I was there is my wife, who is a freaking godsend. And the work that she and her counterpart at Set the Expectation did, Liz Anderson, to see them put that camp together was really, really magical. And if you want some of the footage of what James did with the kids and kind of how it all came together, you can go to Set the Expectations page on Instagram, and there's going to be a ton more stuff coming. But it was super cool, and I was grateful to play a very small role in it. And it was cool to kind of like look around and see all these people that I knew and how it came together and, you know, kind of our network. But the work they put in to make that thing happen is ridiculous. And I should have mentioned that in the last segment. So I apologize for that. And just wanted to make sure that the credit went where it's due, because boy, is it due. All right, Ant. Madden rankings are out. When does the game come out? This is me just seeing if you're like counting down the days and you already know off the top of your head. That's all that was.
I know it comes out in August. I don't know the exact date. I don't think it's come out yet.
No, it's definitely not yet.
Yeah, I just know it comes out in August, and I can't wait.
Yeah. So I was actually surprised to see that Terry McLaurin was a top 10 receiver. Not because I don't think that that's correct. I just feel like he's always left out. That there are and like we've done all these roster rankings of like the group as a whole, right? And you see the Dallases and teams like that are consistently ranked higher. And I'm just like, I don't believe that to be true. I think Terry is just as good or better than CeeDee Lamb. And I think Jahan is better than their number 2, and Curtis is better than their number 3. And so when we've seen all these composite rankings of Terry's unit being worse than all these other guys, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, Terry's on top. I guess I'm a little confused. Now, apparently Jahan's like a 77, which I get only in that he's a second-year guy, and I think I saw JP tweeting like they're going to have to update that by October. I think that is very correct. But it's the kind of thing that I'm happy to see Terry get the respect that I feel like he deserves, because if you – like Madden is the closest thing to if you put that guy on another team, what would he look like? Like, who is he in a vacuum? Not what is he going to do this season based off his quarterback play, off his offensive coordinator, off of his offensive line's ability to protect. It's just, how good is Terry McLaurin? And the answer is really bleeping good. And a 92 rating and being, I think it's the 8th best receiver in the game, feels correct to me.
I mean, we were just having this discussion maybe a week ago when we were talking about the fantasy football rankings and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And to see Terry above, you know, some of the guys there in the same tier as him, you know, the CeeDee Lambs of the world. And it's just fascinating to me, even A.J. Brown. But I think it's also just important to just realize how talented this guy is. And despite, you know, the lack of quarterback play that we've had here the last couple of years, he's finally getting the respect and notoriety that he's been long and deserving, to be honest. So him being at 892 overall, I can't wait to use him.
Yeah.
I can't wait to use him.
Yeah. So he is, I think, 8th. The Justin Jefferson's the newest member of the 99 Club. He's 99 overall. I believe that is correct. Tyreek Hill, 98. He's the second best. That feels right. Devontae Adams, 97. No problems. Cooper Kupp, 96. Stephon Diggs, 96. No problem there. Jamar Chase is 94. I think I would bump him up.
Yeah.
Like, he belongs to me in the same class as Kupp and Diggs. Frankly, I'd put him up with Adams. I think Jamar Chase is that good. That's just a bad man. He's fast, he's big, he's strong, he jumps high, he catches the ball well. He's everything. Terry is not the cleanest catcher of the football ever. He's not quite as shifty as some of these other guys. His top-end speed is right there, and his ability to catch 50-50 balls is incredible. And so at 92, I'm down with that.
I think that's what separates him, though. The fact that he's coming down with a whole bunch of these contested catches. You don't see it too. I mean, you see it from the elite of the elite, and that's where Terry is right now. So I think, even Anthony Armstrong, when he mentioned the catch he had over Stephon Gilmore, 40 seconds left in the game, you come up with that play, like the stakes are that high. I think that's more so what's getting him the respect that he's finally deserved.
It's funny because he is not the cleanest catch guy in that he's a body catcher.
Yeah.
Yep. But he's the best body catcher I've ever seen. And as a result, his catch rating in Madden is a 97. He doesn't drop balls. I don't think he dropped a ball his first 4 years in the league or something like that. I can't remember the exact stat, but he just never drops the ball, even though it looks like he never catches it cleanly. It's the wildest thing that I can remember seeing from a wide receiver kind of on that, where you have other guys that do everything right. They look it in, and the ball hits him in the face mask, and you're like, what?
One hand catches.
Yeah. Terry just always catches the ball. A.J. Brown's next at 91. Amari Cooper at 91. CeeDee Lamb at 90. I think that is hilarious.
What, CeeDee's at 90?
That Amari Cooper is above CeeDee Lamb. Because the Cowboys were like, we're going to go with Lamb. And Amari Cooper just reminded folks how good he is. We talk about Brissett, obviously, here and what he was last year in Cleveland. Who do you think he was throwing to? Amari Cooper's a bad mamma jamma.
Mm-hmm.
He is an excellent, excellent receiver. And I think 91 feels high, but not by much. I would say A.J. Brown maybe should be on the same tier as Terry. I mean, one's 92, one's 91. How different are they for real?
Yeah.
But that is, A.J. Brown is right there. Evans at 90, I wonder how he looks this year. Obviously a couple years ago, it felt like he was up in that 97 range. Brady falls off last year. Now he's got Baker Mayfield. We'll see. Debo 89, that's interesting in part because how do you rate him? He's one of those guys where it's if you put him at running back, his overall doesn't drop.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, Mike Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I know a lot of people are upset he's only an 87. It feels like he should maybe be a little bit higher, but he's got to do it for more than 1 year. Devontae Smith and T. Higgins. And that's actually the last one I want to talk about real quick. People love to talk about T. Higgins like he's a 1A kind of guy. And I'm not telling you T. Higgins is not a potential number one wide receiver, but I don't think he is. If T. Higgins is your best wide receiver, I don't think that your offense has quite the ceiling of dynamic, or whatever the word I'm looking for, whatever conjugation of dynamicness is, than the Jamar Chases, the Terry McLaurens. I think he is just slightly one step below that, where he's either a 1B or the best 2 in the league. So people are freaking out that he's an 87, but I actually feel like that's correct.
But I think he can get Mike Evans parallels. Mike Evans isn't the fastest, but he is a big body. He comes down with
Mike Evans is a lot bigger than T. Higgins.
But T. Higgins, he makes contested catches.
He does.
He can go up and reel one in. So
I like T. Higgins a lot. I'm not as mad as other people are that he wound up down there.
I think DK being that low is a little surprising to me, just because a lot of people would say if you had to rank the receiver, they might put him ahead of Terry and things of that nature. So, and also he used to be rated a lot higher in the previous Madden. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know. DK's always been a weird one for me. He has these monster games, but he'll disappear for times. Yeah. It does feel like at times he's a little one-trick pony-y, he's not the smoothest route runner. He's not as precise as a guy like Terry. I don't know. I just don't think he's consistent. So, I don't know. I'm psyched for Terry. I'm excited also for this. Next, we'll dive into Jeremy Fowler's rankings over at ESPN. Talk to some of the top executives in the league. Have any Commanders of the rankings released so far been top 10 at their position? And who could be by the end of the year? We'll discuss next. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
10.
Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. Continuing ranking season. This is actually one of my favorite ones that comes out every year. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN does it. And I'm just going to read from his intro. It says, as part of ESPN's 2023 NFL season preview, we survey league executives, coaches, scouts, and players to help us rank the top 10 players at 11 different positions, from quarterback to cornerback and all positions in between. This is the fourth edition of these rankings, and as usual, several players have moved up or fallen off last year's list. Here's how the process works. Voters give us their 10 best players at a position, then we compile the results and rank candidates based on number of top 10 votes, composite average, along with dozens of interviews, research, and film study help from ESPN NFL analyst Matt Bowen. In total, more than 80 voters submitted a ballot on at least one position, and in many cases, all positions. We had several ties, so we broke them with the help of additional voting and follow-up calls with those surveyed. So they work on this all off-season, and you've got executives, coaches, scouts, and players all voting on this. Anthony, today I say we do the front seven. So that gives us 3 positions to go through.
Yep.
So we'll do off-ball linebackers, defensive tackles, and then defensive ends. Defensive or off-ball linebackers is interesting because, one, Micah Parsons is not eligible this year. Last year, he was the number 1 guy. Or last year, he was one of the top couple guys, and he's obviously playing defensive end exclusively this year. So he's not even on the list anymore. The number 1 guy to me is so obvious, and I can't believe that last year he was 3rd. But Fred Warner from the Niners is the best middle linebacker in football, and I don't even know that it's particularly close right now because there's nobody else that plays the run and the pass as well as he does, and it's because of his coverage skills. He is on a different level coverage-wise than basically everyone else in football. They play a complicated defense out there. It's they do all the match stuff, and it can be hard when you're a middle linebacker because you get wind up matched up with everybody. You get wind up matched up on receivers and tight ends and running backs, and you got to run with them, and he does it as well as anyone. Now, we'll see how that goes without D'Amico Ryans this year, but I would anticipate he has another great year. Number 2 is Roquan Smith. He was 5th last year, and one NFL coordinator said in this piece, I can't believe the Bears let him out of their building. Baltimore obviously signs him. Someone else said, an NFL coordinator, he's everything a linebacker is supposed to be. Doesn't have a weakness, intelligence, versatility, consistent tackler, plus athleticism. If he has a weakness, it's in pass coverage. But again, it's just the nature of the position, and it's not that he's bad at it. He's just not Fred Warner. Tremaine Edmonds is 3rd in Chicago, who they obviously replace Smith with. Matt Milano, who replaces Edmonds to an extent. In Buffalo, they played together. He was first-team All-Pro last year for the first time. Devin White in Tampa, who White's like in many ways, I would say the prototypical current middle linebacker in the league. He's super fast and he blitzes a lot. He doesn't play a ton. Like they try to keep him out of bad coverage situations because they know he's only so good at it, but he's still super effective in that. And it just kind of shows you kind of the level of linebacker play is not super high in the league because you don't have like 6 guys that are Fred Warner-ish. You've got a bunch of guys who do 1 or 2 things really well and other guys that and then they're adequate at everything else. Demario Davis is 6. Shaquille Leonard obviously has a huge chance to rise back up after he missed most of last season with injuries. Of course, Zaire did a great job, Zaire Franklin filling in. Nick Bolton comes in at number 8, young player, which is cool to see. CJ Mosley at 9 with the Jets. Dre Greenlaw, who was awesome last year for the Niners, comes in at 10. And then honorable mentions, Bobby Wagner, Levante David, Alokun from Jacksonville, Logan Wilson from Cincinnati, and then Patrick Queen, the other linebacker in Baltimore, also receiving votes. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Jordan Brooks, Devondre Campbell, Jerome Baker, and Shaq Thompson. Anthony, I'm ready to make a bold prediction.
You're about to make a bold prediction?
Yes.
Well, hit me with your best shot.
Jamin Davis is going to at least be receiving votes next year. He might even make honorable mention. If he just played like he did, like the problem for Jamin last year was he was bad early which the narrative then says that he's bad, and it's harder to overcome. If he gets off to a good start this year and continues to play at a high level, like if he just plays the way he did, let's say the last 7 games last year, the entire year, he's on the list.
I mean,
like honorable mention level. If he plays better all season than he was last year, he's pushing top 10. He's super fast. He's going to play behind a great D line. He's now in the middle linebacker spot. He's got good safety help around him. I think he's going to play a ton in a defense where the other linebackers are going to rotate around him. I think Jamin has a real shot at being on this list next year.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think you're selling him short a little bit. You said receiving votes. I will push him, higher. Is honorable mention before that?
No, it's receiving votes, honorable mention on the list.
Yeah, so I will probably say honorable mention, to be honest. Again,
that would be my prediction, but I'm guaranteeing he's
he'll at least
receiving
be
votes.
at least that.
I went for a lower threshold, but a stronger confidence level.
That's fair.
All right. Defensive tackles for this year. Surprise, surprise, Aaron Donald's still number 1.
Of course.
Chris Jones is number 2. Jeffrey Simmons is 3rd. Quinnen Williams is 4th. Javon Hargrave, 5. That's interesting. Ahead of Dexter Lawrence, who was insane last year. This is where you get fun. Number 7, DeForest Buckner. Number 8, Daron Payne.
Over John Allen?
Yes. Number 9, Cam Hayward. Number 10, John Allen.
Dang.
Others are honorable mentions: Wilkins, Vita Vea, Kenny Clark, Derek Brown, Leonard Williams. I thought Williams was really good last year. By the way, receiving votes: Grady Jarrett, Eric Armstead, DJ Reader, Jermon Jones, Dalvin Tomlinson, Ed Oliver, Grover Stewart. I thought Williams should be top 10 based on how he played last year. I think Allen should be higher. I didn't watch enough of Pittsburgh to have a real take on Hayward. But
nasty.
Buckner, he's been so good for so long.
I don't think last year was.
But I don't know that he's still that level.
Yeah.
Like, would you rather have Buckner or Payne? Buckner or Allen?
I mean, Buckner just commands so much, though.
And John and Duran don't?
I'm not saying they don't, but they also you can put a lot more attention on D Buck and Grover Stewart because they don't have the defensive ends that are really going to threaten anything. So all my attention is on those guys. With our guys, our line is crazy.
Yeah, this is a great stat. Buckner has faced 1,645 double teams since 2017, more than any other player save Donald.
He's getting doubled and triple teamed every time.
It's a good stat for your point. All right. Edge players. Number 1, Nick Bosa. That's interesting, but he is so good against the run and arguably the best pass rusher in the league.
Before you continue,
yeah,
will TJ Watt be on this list?
Yes.
Okay. And they have Nick Bosa 1.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah. Dude, he's so good.
He is.
Myles Garrett at 2.
Oh! Okay.
Garrett is coming off back-to-back 16-sack seasons.
He's nasty.
This position is so deep. Micah Parsons at 3. TJ Watt at 4. I love those other 3 dudes, but that just feels too low. I don't want to disrespect any of the other ones to be like TJ Watt's definitely better, but TJ Watt feels way too low at 4.
He does.
He completely changed their season.
Just coming
last
back.
year. Yeah, they were good with him, and they stunk without him.
Sack total is crazy when he's in there.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I'd probably just put him at 1 or 2 and not think about it. But he did have the injuries last year, so we'll see. Hassan Reddick at 5. Wow, that feels high. But he is so good.
Yeah.
Max Crosby at 6. Brian Burns at 7.
Yep.
Matthew Judon at 8. Von Miller at 9. Joey Bosa at 10. Honorable mentions: Jalen Phillips, Aiden Hutchinson, Trey Hendrickson, Khalil Mack, Cameron Jordan. Also receiving votes: Za'Darius Smith, Rashawn Gary, Daniil Hunter, Chandler Jones, Josh Sweat, Unwosu, and Shaquille Barrett. Montez Sweat not getting a vote feels wrong.
Yeah, that's messed up.
Biased homer, sure. But that feels wrong.
gets a ton of pressures. I guess it has to be the sack production then.
It's got to be. But he's also excellent against the run. He's
Yeah.
one of the best run defensive ends in the league. I'm not saying he should be top 10. I'm just saying he should get a vote. My bold prediction here is that Aiden Hutchinson will crack the top 8 next year. I don't think that's terribly bold. So good as a rookie. All right, when we get back here on the Hoffman Show, Lionel Messi was introduced to a crowd of over 20,000 in Miami this weekend just to get a jersey, say hello. What other athletes in sports could get that treatment? Let's chop it up next. 301-230-0980 on the Hoffman Show. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. So, Anthony, I know obviously you're busy being at Broccoli City Fest and everything this weekend, but did you see any of the Messi intro in Miami?
I didn't get to see any of it. I saw him in the a supermarket.
Yeah, we saw him in Publix last week. This was crazy, man. So they packed 20,000 people into the stadium down in Miami. Messi, obviously the most famous soccer player in the world, coming to MLS, introduced, finally, officially signed, I think it was Friday or Saturday. And then they have this big like introduction event, intro press conference, if you will, on Sunday. It's not a press conference though; it's an event. They have him come out. It's in the middle of the field. There's all this special and cool lighting, and like David Beckham, who owns the club, is there, and they do an interview and they present him with the jersey. And it's pouring rain at one point before I think they got started, and people just are there. It's 20,000 people to watch a guy get handed a jersey in a light show. And that got me to thinking, is there anybody else in sports who could get that treatment if they went to a new team? Now, part of it is going to a new country. I think if any of the top NBA players, LeBron, Steph, etc., went to a team in China, they could do that. Basketball is unbelievably popular in China. And there's obviously 1 billion people, so you have these massive cities. Could they fill a 20,000-seat arena? And like there's a scarcity element to it. If you're a Chinese basketball fan, you don't get to see Steph Curry play basketball very often, or you don't get to see LeBron James very often because they play here, and that's about as far away from here geographically as you can possibly get. So I think if you're doing that, but I'm talking about who else in America where we have the best sports in the world outside of men's soccer, the best leagues in basically every sport that we care about, all due respect to cricket. What other athlete could fill a 20,000-seat stadium just because they signed there? I actually don't think it's that many, and I don't know that it's any.
And you have to be an American.
No, it could be any athlete in the world. But they go to a new team, and they fill the arena. And it could be a football player that fills like a basketball arena. It doesn't have to be, oh, you play football, so you have to fill an 80,000-seat stadium.
Oh, Mahomes is doing that easy.
That was one of the guys that I thought of.
If he came here,
right?
You serious?
I think if
Capital won't be full.
Yeah, I think so. You have to think about it like positionally, plus age, plus impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I actually don't know if LeBron at this point gets that. Because no, let me finish, Mr. LeBron James.
Oh, I'm listening.
It's not like you now get a decade of LeBron James. You get the last couple years of LeBron James. That's not to say that people wouldn't go watch. It's not to say the games themselves wouldn't sell out way more than they do now, if not every night. I just think for the intro ceremony, if Will Dawkins and Michael Winger and Ted Leonsis throw a party at Capital One Arena, does LeBron James in 2023 get that reception? You think he fills 20,000 seats?
No question, Craig. No question. For free?
Yeah.
For free? Yes. $3.99. Everybody in DC is going. It's going to be. Craig, when he came here for, what did he come here for? I don't know. It was some celebrity like basketball game. I'm talking about people are camping out just to see this guy. He probably didn't even play that much. LeBron James.
What year was that though?
I don't know what year. He was playing in the game. It was a game that he was playing in.
That's different.
So I think that does add to it.
To see him play is different than to see like.
Yeah, but to
oh
see
my
LeBron
God, I'm
James,
in the building.
To see LeBron James at all, it does not matter. I'm there, Craig, because guess what? I've never seen LeBron James ever in my life. And if you're telling me I get to go to Capital One and sit in row 200 and look down at the King James himself, I'm going to do that. I will be there with the sign in hand.
What's the sign say?
The greatest ever. I don't know. I haven't thought of it. I'm just letting you know what we're going to me seeing LeBron James for free at Capital One Arena. A lot of people don't get that luxury. I promise you he will fill it out. Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
301-230-0980. I'm curious because LeBron was the one that was hard for me to think about. 301-230-0980. I actually think at this point Steph might have a better chance because I feel like Steph has more years left. And I feel like what it would mean to the fans is like, oh, we're in this for the next couple of years. I don't know LeBron. Like, LeBron is still great.
But if you get LeBron James at this juncture in his career, this might be his last season ever. So him being
right, but the intro doesn't matter as much because like what you're selling at this intro is hope. And like that's the thing with Miami, it's like and Messi, it's like, yo, this cat's about to change the league. We're not talking about just the future of Inter Miami. And also, like, with all due respect to LeBron, Messi is way more famous than LeBron around the globe.
No question.
And, like, I think that's a factor here, right? Because it doesn't have to be necessarily just in Washington, D.C. If you tell me LeBron's going back to Cleveland for one final year, welcome back home, I think that arena gets filled. And that's part of it, is Messi, the most famous Latin American player maybe ever, at least since Pele, more famous and more popular than Ronaldo and Ronaldinho, as in the original Brazilian Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo, right, is in Miami. Like, that's part of it. That doesn't happen if Messi signs with the New England Revolution. It's still a lot.
Yeah.
But it's not what it was in Miami. So that's the other trick of it. If Steph Curry signs with the Charlotte Hornets, that happens.
No question.
Went to college at Davidson, which is basically in Charlotte, North Carolina kid. Like, kid, he's older than me. But he grew up there. He was a North Carolina kid. Like, yeah, I think that's one. Here's your DC one.
Kevin Durant.
What if Durant signs here?
See, I'm not a big Durant guy, but if he was to come to D.C., I would be excited. I think it ultimately just comes down to what the rollout will look like. You know,
same kind of thing. Light show, jersey, the whole deal. I think there's definitely a hometown thing for a lot of guys. But if there's a point to this, it's like, y'all got to realize, people have to realize here that are mostly, basketball and American football fans, that global football, a.k.a. soccer, is so much more popular. And, like, the global nature of this, I think, makes this a pretty unique event. And Messi is the most popular guy in that sport. And so LeBron at the peak of his powers, I mean, we saw it in Miami, but it wasn't, I don't know that it was 20,000 when they did the thing with Bosch and Wade and all them, but they had a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A Durant back here, a Curry in, I would say, a lot of places. But I think that list is so small. I even think at athletes of the last 25 years, the list is so small. But what do you think? 301-230-0980. We'll take your calls next. Got a couple lined up. We'll get to them on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Here's what's trending on the team.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Some thoughts on the series Quarterback on Netflix coming at the top of the hour. Finished that this weekend. Some really interesting stuff. I want to talk about it coming up at 6 o'clock. Plus, who do you want to see next on the show? We'll talk about that at 6:15. Right now, though, which athletes in sports could get the Messi treatment? And what I mean by that is the event that Lionel Messi has on Sunday night, last night in Miami, where he's introduced to a stadium full of people, 20,000 people. It's this massive, massive event that the entire soccer world pretty much is watching ahead of All-Star Weekend here in D.C., which is going to take over the town in the next couple of days. So Anthony thinks LeBron James still has that. I think Steph Curry could get that in a lot of places. We both agree Patrick Mahomes could definitely get it at this point if he were to somehow want out of Kansas City and go somewhere else. But I don't know the list is that much longer than that. Maybe a Joe Burrow, a truly top-flight quarterback. But there's this combination of excellence and excitement that comes together in a guy like Messi that I think is not unique, but rare. How rare? 301-230-0980. Let's get to the calls. Let's see what you got. Joe, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show. Who do you think could get the Messi treatment?
So I don't know what it's like up there in New York with Aaron Rodgers, but aren't they in a frenzy right now?
I mean, they're in a frenzy, but it ain't like, what we're talking about with Messi. Like Aaron Rodgers getting signed in New York did not get them 20,000 people, or wouldn't get them 20,000 people in any of the number of amphitheaters and arenas that are in New York that hold 20,000 people. No way.
No, so no, I agree with that, and there's nobody today, period, that would do what Messi's doing. There's no comparison to any other athlete than with Messi doing that. At the same time, if you want to get anywhere close to it, it would be, like you said, it was LeBron, because I just remember when Michael Jordan decided, oh, I'm going to come back and play. And then the arena started to be filled with every game he played. Now, he was already in the building as a vice president or whatever. People were coming to the games anyway. But when he said, I want to play, they packed the court, the arena.
Well, yeah, but that's
so-
different because we're talking about a guy, playing versus, talking about the intro, not press conference, but an intro event.
Yeah. So I don't know that there's anybody that comes that close to Messi. He's just world renowned, like you said earlier, and no other athlete is like that. I mean, maybe in 5-10 years, maybe Wembanyama, but right now there's not one. I'm somewhat in agreement with you about that. That's all I have to say.
All right, thanks, Joe. 301-230-0980. Let's go to Alex. Alex, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my call. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think that there is a player of that caliber that Messi is. And remember, this is worldwide, right? Not just the United States. There's no player that will have this sort of impact right now in our generation. When we think about Pele when he came to the States, that was huge back in the day. Obviously, I wasn't alive for that time, but I'm sure that was as big as what Messi had. LeBron and Steph going to a different country, I think that would be a big deal. But you have to remember, soccer in itself is such a worldwide sport. Basketball and football, it's getting there, right? They're having their games in Mexico and England, Germany, China, obviously. But it's not as big as soccer. Whenever I go to Central America or I talk to peers or colleagues, the number one thing that we talk about is soccer. Talk to someone from Africa, it's soccer. If I talk to someone from South America or, Europe, it's always soccer. So I don't think there's any other player that would have the same kind of impact that Messi did. Now, to debunk your original statement, as far as if he would have went to any other city, he would have not had that same, people going or just the amount of people that went to his event. He could have went to Kentucky, and he would have still had that same amount of people because you have to remember, Messi worldwide is loved. After the whole World
I
Cup,
know that. I don't know that it's any city. Like, Messi, if there's anybody that has a chance, it's Messi. But I don't think if he goes, again, to New England or to a less diverse city that doesn't care about soccer as much, that if he goes to Minneapolis, I don't know that you're getting the same, or maybe Indianapolis is better. Minneapolis is actually way more diverse than people realize. But Indianapolis, I don't know that Messi's selling out whatever the basketball arena is in Indy for that.
It's questionable. I definitely think that any city he could have made, definitely would have made an impact as far as the growth in sales around the stadium, restaurants, things of that nature, streaming, obviously. I mean, he chose Miami for a reason, right? He's going to have a part of the ownership of the team. Miami is Miami, right? So it's a lovable city. Everyone wants to go there. And he got so much love, right? Not just only from celebrities, but also athletes. From all the videos that they've showed, Miami's that kind of fan-loving city that a lot of people do want to end up playing for. Obviously, LeBron went there at one point of his career. So, obviously, he made the decision. I think it's a great decision for him and also for soccer. MLS, with this now signee, hopefully we get additional players. Well, those players amount
for sure.
to
All
what
right,
Messi did.
Alex, thanks for the call. We're not really doing, I love supporting the game, but we're not doing an MLS segment. The point is what other athletes could do this? And I think one of the things that he brought up earlier in that call, which is good, and everything he's saying is super valid, and I hope it all comes true. It's just not what we're doing right now. Is Messi comes with a pretty unique place in the sport and also the sports place in America. What I mean by that is there's a lot of people in America who are soccer fans that are fans of Barcelona, the club he played at for years, or PSG, the club he's played at for the last couple years. Because here in the U.S., MLS is not one of the best leagues in the world. So you probably, if you're a soccer fan, sure, are there people in D.C. that are just D.C. United fans because it's their local team and that's all they really care about? Yes, but if you're a soccer fan, you probably also have a favorite English Premier League team, or you love watching Bayern Munich play in the Bundesliga, or you watch Barcelona and Real Madrid and La Liga. Like, so there's a lot of people that are Barcelona fans because of Messi that have been following Messi for a decade, and now all of a sudden he's here. I have a hypothesis on an American athlete that the guy that I think would have been the absolute closest to this in recent memory. I'll see what Matt has to say first. Matt, go ahead. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, so as a player, Cristiano Ronaldo, same sport, would probably be similar, maybe for a little bit different reason. You know, he's kind of got that sex appeal, and even though his skill levels maybe diminished a little bit, I think maybe for a little bit different reason. But I think the other one, and maybe I'm going to steal your thunder here, is not so much a team sport, but Tiger Woods. If you were to bring Tiger Woods into a venue or a pregame hype, if you will, that you could see him get a lot of probably not anymore. He'd have to have a nice little run on the game, but I think if he were to do that, especially in a big venue, I think you could see him bringing a lot of folks just for being there.
Yeah, no, Matt, that's a good one. I don't know what the kind of, like, are you introducing, like, what are you introducing? You know, I know they're working on all kinds of stuff right now, in part because they don't want Congress to peel apart the PGA Tour and live. So who knows what's going to become in golf, but he's definitely one that has like the mega wattage superstar. Anthony, the guy that the more I think about it, I think is the closest we've had in the last 25 years to a correct answer is when Brady went to Tampa. 1,000% could have happened because Brady ticks the same boxes that Messi does. Brady was a living legend. And like that is part of this. Like that's what makes Mahomes kind of unique. Like for as great as Burrow is, he hadn't won anything yet. Like we all know intellectually Joe Burrow's as good as anybody in the sport, not named Mahomes. And the excitement would be off the charts if he comes to your team. But like Mahomes at the age of 27, because of what he's done and how he's done it, is kind of already a young living legend. If Mahomes retires tomorrow, he goes to the Hall of Fame. He's that good and he's done that much. But Brady, by the time he goes to Tampa, is coming off of a Super Bowl victory, a la Messi coming off of a World Cup. So you're at the height of your sport. You lead your team there, and now you're going to a new team. Or in Messi's case, an entire new country and a new league. And I know the World Cup and the Super Bowl, obviously, one's international competition. People get it. But, like, you've just done something super high profile in your sport, the highest profile thing in your sport, and then you go somewhere else, and you're still good. And you have the chance to help lead your new squad to new heights. And for Brady, that was getting Tampa back to the Super Bowl and making their franchise more relevant than it had been in, basically since John Gruden left. And for Messi, it's like no one cares if they win, but like it's about elevating the entire sport in America in a way that I don't think a lot of us fully even understand yet. So Brady to me is the closest one. If LeBron to the Lakers maybe a couple years ago, coming off of the championship in 2016, obviously he lost a couple more to the Warriors before he left, but like at that stage of LeBron's career, I think maybe he qualifies. I think now it's like the window has expired for that, potentially. But Brady's the guy that I feel like that's my final answer. Obviously, there's not someone right now because Brady's retired, but that would be my final answer of athletes, say, in the last decade to potentially have a moment like this.
Yeah, I like it. I think Bron also going back to Cleveland in 2015.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and that's, again, the combination of him going back home. And he did something at Akron's football stadium, and it was jam-packed.
Yeah.
So Bron at that. The other thing about Brady and Messi, well, Brady for sure. Messi, I feel like, probably has this as like the kind of undisputed GOAT. Messi's not the undisputed greatest of all time. You have people that like Cristiano Ronaldo, people that like Pele. Like there's other players, personally, some folks like Ronaldinho, like pick your guy, but Messi is probably widely considered the GOAT. well, I think you and I would go LeBron James is the best basketball player we've ever seen. Like, the push from the Michael Jordan crowd is they have a point. And so I think there's even, like, you start splitting hairs at that level, there's some of that gets involved in something like this as well. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. That was fun. Enjoy that. Also got this one. It was interesting, Anthony. Real quick, a mention for a tweet I got. What happens if the Commanders draft Caleb Williams next year? I think it's too much to put on a rookie, but like the excitement level would be very high. That was another fun one. So appreciate whoever tweeted me that. Speaking of quarterbacks, though, Quarterback on Netflix, huge hit. A lot of folks have obviously watched it over the last week. I definitely have some takeaways from it. I'll share them with you next here on the Team 980. Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, we got an audible because we got breaking news, and it's big.
Whoa.
Actual big breaking news. 9 minutes ago from Nikki Javala and Mark Maskey of the Washington Post.
Is this good breaking news or bad breaking news?
Anthony Haney, this is the most excellent breaking news. This is, in many ways, the breaking news that so many people have been waiting for. The NFL Finance Committee met remotely Monday and unofficially approved Josh Harris's $6.05 billion deal to purchase the Washington Commanders from Daniel Snyder, two people familiar with the deliberations says. This is the important one. Attorneys for the NFL and Snyder have also reached an agreement resolving the legal issues that threaten to complicate the closing of the deal, these people said. That clears the way for the NFL and team owners to vote to ratify the sale during their meeting scheduled for Thursday in Minneapolis. Because not all 8 members participated in Monday's meeting, the Finance Committee did not take an official vote to recommend approval of the sale to the person. One owner told the Post, but owners who participated took what the person described as a straw poll in which they unanimously supported the deal. The sale is expected to close officially as soon as Friday. According to one of the people with knowledge of the deliberations, the findings of the NFL's investigation into Snyder and the Commanders being conducted by attorney Mary Jo White could be released soon thereafter. So that leaves Thursday. There's a full owner's vote. 24 of the 32 must vote yes. This will be a unanimous yes. They're so ready to get rid of this guy. And it's, finally hearing like this is it. The legal hurdles that remained are not in place. What I am fascinated to see is the details of that. And I assume Maskey and others are working on this to determine what that agreement was, right? The indemnification, is that something where Snyder ultimately gets protection from the NFL? Is a reminder of what's at stake here, right? Indemnification does not mean that you can't be sued. Because, for instance, today, the Washington Post and others reported, actually, I think it was reported by someone else first, so I apologize, I'm not remembering who. But someone else, or someone reported that Jason Friedman, the former employee of the Commanders who has been the subject of a lot of talk out of Snyder and his attorneys and people that have put things on him that he says are not true, is ready to prove that in court. He sued them for defamation. And that is something that is going to have to be dealt with because this is something you learn in journalism school. Defamation is very hard to win if you have a suit for that. But there's two main criteria, and it is something that if the Commanders or if Friedman can prove it, seems pretty straightforward from Snyder's camp that they had actual malice, that they were trying to hurt him, and they knowingly lied. Now, they might say, oh, we were told bad information, we didn't know we were lying. So the two criteria are it can't be true and you have to have actual malice. But if they knowingly lied about a guy and did it for reasons to hurt him, like bang, bang, you're there. They can't stop that lawsuit because it's like, oh, we're indemnifying. What it means is that either Snyder, if the NFL gets sued, will pay for it, pay for the legal defense, or if Snyder gets sued, and if he was still an NFL owner, would have gotten legal defense aid from the league, he would still get that even though he's no longer an owner because the actions that he's being sued for happened while he was owner. So how that gets played out, not only from the potential of former employees to sue, but from the John Gruden email case, is a massive deal for those involved. I realize that for most people listening, y'all don't care a lick. You're just happy to get rid of Dan and Josh Harris is the future and let's move on. But this isn't going to go anywhere in terms of like the legal system. I would say you don't have to care about it as much. There's no existential threat to the franchise. It's not going to derail a sale. It's not going to impact anybody who works here because that's not money that needs to be spent by the people currently involved in the team. All that is off the table. But I am, as someone who's followed the story and invested in it that way, am pretty fascinated to see what kind of resolution ultimately takes place. But without question, the most important thing off of this breaking news is that the path is finally clear. And last week, it was like, you're emerging from the woods that you've been wandering in for 8 months. And, there's a couple times in there where, you're on a hiking trail and you're looking for that red paint on the tree. And you're like, yo, guys, we haven't seen any red paint in a while. And then here come Evan Novi Williams and Sportico. Or here came Adam Schefter. Here came Maskey and Nicky. Oh, okay, we're still on the path. We're still on the path. We're still on the path. And now you're finally getting into the clearing, or maybe you're at the end of the hike and you're back at your car. I don't know how to torture this analogy we want to make it. But you're at the end of the clearing, and there's a couple branches that you could have tripped over, and there's that one thorny branch that maybe you got one last little scratch. But now all you got to do is finish the last couple of feet in the woods, and you're out in the clear. And this thing's going to happen on Thursday. I mean, it always was. I've told you all along. It always was. They were not sending a bunch of billionaires in the middle of summer vacation time, a week before training camp starts, to Minneapolis to vote if this deal wasn't going to be ready. But through all the finances, through all of the everything, all the legalities, so many lawyers, so many accountants, Thursday, July 20th, the vote will happen, and the sale is likely finalized on Friday. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And when we get back, we will pick up with our thoughts on the quarterback Netflix series, barring calls from you, 301-230-0980 here on the Hoffman Show. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/at the Team 980. All right, Quarterbacks on Netflix, 8-part series, follows Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota throughout the 2022 seasons. Good choices, 3 of the most interesting seasons that were had last year amongst NFL quarterbacks. I mean, outside of like Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, outside of, I guess, Daniel Jones would have been super interesting. I mean, Carson would have been hella interesting here. There weren't that many you could have done better. Mariota leaves the Falcons after he's replaced by Desmond Ridder, and I think they do a good job in that show of showing why Marcus Mariota left. I do think they probably could have been a little more harsh on Mariota. That the reason nobody understood why he left is because he never told anybody. I think the reasons he left are completely valid. He went and got a knee procedure done, and then ultimately he had just given birth to his first child, or his wife had just given birth to his first child, and you don't get those moments back. And if he wants to go spend time when he's not going to be playing and he's not going to be coming back the next year, like, of course you can be a good teammate and help the young quarterback, but what's going to mean more to Marcus Mariota in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, getting to spend the first couple of months of his child's life being there, or mentoring Desmond Ridder? I have no problem with Marcus Mariota leaving and taking a paternity leave while he's hurt, essentially. He just should have told people that that's what he was doing. And that's that part of it. Obviously, Mahomes wins the Super Bowl. The ankle injury in the Jacksonville game and what it took for him to go back is well covered. They actually do talk about him buying the land and starting to build the mansion that we talked about a couple weeks ago when it was, some of the pictures hit the internet of this incredible house that Mahomes has built in Missouri. You see some of the behind-the-scenes creativity of the plays that they draw up, and the creativity that not only Andy Reid allows Mahomes to have, but requires him to have. You get to see some of the working relationships between Mahomes, Reid, Matt Nagy, Eric Bieniemy. I know that Sheehan did a whole thing about Bieniemy's role. I just think Bieniemy wasn't mic'd up as much as Nagy, and they edited it perhaps that way because Nagy's staying and Bieniemy left. And I think Eric is right there, and you can see his mouth moving half the time. He's also talking to Patrick. I'm not at all concerned that there wasn't actually a close relationship or Bieniemy didn't have any influence. And Bieniemy's go to practice. Eric Bieniemy's smart. He knows what he's doing. But I will say this. The thing that stuck out to me the most in this series, the thing that impressed me the most, and I will admit my own bias here, but it's Kevin O'Connell's relationship with Kirk Cousins. And my bias is towards O'Connell, who I have thought was going to be a great NFL head coach since I sat down with him in training camp of 2017. We talked for about 20 minutes. The PR staff was ready to kill me. But he was a great storyteller. He was thorough in his answers. He clearly enjoyed getting to tell his story at the time, for one of the first times. We talked about his career as a quarterback and as a player and some things that went wrong for him and how that parlayed into ultimately doing a media job. And I think at that time he even felt almost a little bit of kinship to reporters who were willing to sit down and talk with him, and especially people that were, willing to ask good questions and not the same old thing. And obviously what we were doing was a little bit different and more of a biographical type of interview at the time. And so he did radio play-by-play as not the play-by-play guy, but as the color commentator for his alma mater at San Diego State for a couple of years, and then ultimately gets into coaching. And what I learned about Kevin from my couple of years covering him and getting to know him pretty well on a professional level is this was a guy who not only was sharp with X's and O's and I think thought about the game very clearly and communicated all of that very well, but that understood that people were the most important part of the job. And that is something that many coaches have succeeded in spite of over the years, in part because a lot of coaches were doing it the same way. Everyone's just a hard ass all the time, and there's kind of this, machismo about football, and especially within football, that if you either get on board or you get out. But what someone who does it a little bit differently takes what I would call a little bit more human or maybe even humane approach to it is those players that fell by the wayside that could have helped you because they couldn't survive your culture. You get the most out of them. And you get more out of players because you teach them better, because they feel more fulfilled. They want to try harder. They put in the extra effort. They believe in the team stuff. And it's not out of fear, but it's out of motivation. And I think there's some really great examples of this because what you also see is there's a middle ground as well, where if you're just completely acquiescing to players at all times, you have no standards and you're never going to be successful. If you are just a hard ass all the time, you will alienate some players who could have helped you. But I think almost more important than that, there's a level of player, and Kirk Cousins is exactly this level, that will play well for you because they're very good, but could be even better if you handled them better. They're not going to not survive. They're too talented for that. But they're not going to be maximized. And what you saw last year was the best version of Kirk Cousins that we've seen, because what Kevin knew from their time together in Washington and was reminded of and or learned again very quickly in Minnesota was there are times that Cousins, as even-keeled as he is, will get extremely frustrated, but it won't last. And Kevin says this in the series, and he was featured more prominently than Arthur Smith and Andy Reid in the series. But Kevin talks about there are times you just have to let Kirk blow off steam. And how many times do we see, not just amongst coaches and players, where there are these big blow-ups on the sideline, but in our own personal lives, where in 2 minutes, if we had just let a person blow off steam, or, we go to our separate corners and chill out for a second, collect our thoughts, let adrenaline subside, be fine. You can have an adult conversation, you can solve a problem, and you can move forward. That's life. I think that had my mom and I understood that when I was a child, we probably would have fought a lot less. Sorry, Mom. It's something I'll try to remember when I have kids one day. It's like sometimes, especially if we're like a child, let the child just throw the temper tantrum. Let them get it out of their system. And you look at him at the end and you go, are you done? And then you move forward and you fix whatever the problem was and try to avoid the temper tantrum the next time. And I think what happens is in competitive sports, and especially in football, where the pressure is so immense and you're out there playing a game, like you almost return to that childhood mentality at times, and it becomes this very emotional and almost temperamental exercise. It is everything you've got. You've put so much into it during the week, and then people, like, I don't know if people realize this. I was thinking about this yesterday as I watched the end of the 5-setter Wimbledon. It's a 4.5-hour tennis match. Like, go outside and do anything for 4 hours. Like, you're going to be irritable and emotional. Like, if you go to the zoo for 2 hours and walk around with people you like and your kids, like, you're probably going to be irritable by the end. These guys are out there running into each other full speed for 3.5 hours with small breaks in between to talk about what they did wrong and then go out and try to run into each other better the next time. And so what Kevin learned was, if things are going poorly, which they did at times for the Vikings last year, let Kirk be frustrated for a second. You don't have to immediately go over to him and be like, hey, we got to get this better. He's not going to receive the information. All you're going to do is get in a bickering match and hurt your relationship. So he let Kirk go, watch some stuff on the iPad, go over, take a temperature check, and then have a conversation. And the thing is, I'm making Kirk sound like he's an 8-year-old here. He's not. It was very rare that he would actually get to this point. He was very good at regulating his emotions, and part of that was his work that he did with the sports psychologist, which is also featured in the show. But I think in those moments, those are turning points in a season. And part of the reason that the Vikings were able to be so good in critical situations last year is because they were in a good place with each other at all times. And when the pressure got high, that translated to performance. Will they be as good in one-score games this year? Almost certainly not. There is just an element of luck that they had last year to be that good in one-score games. But will they continue to be a good football team? And is the relationship between Cousins and O'Connell an enormous part of that? And Kevin's ability to manage personalities and create an environment where people feel heard and people, are coached in a way that is conducive to their best learning? Absolutely. And I hope that's the way the sport continues to evolve. It's something that when I covered McVay, I've talked about this with Sean before. Sean is one of, if not the best at this. He is just so good at, building his guys up and understanding how they are going to best process the information. I read a great piece from my friend Jory Epstein today in USA Today about Davis Webb, who was the Giants' third-string quarterback last year and has been a backup in the league for most of his career, but is the new Broncos quarterback coach at the age of 28. He was the Giants' third-string quarterback, and he got an offer to become the Broncos quarterback coach, and he retired and is on to that. And part of what makes Davis Webb special and a critical part of the rooms that he's been in as a backup, I think of a guy like Dan Orlovsky, who we get to see on ESPN, was like this. Like, they contribute to the room in a major way, Colt McCoy, because they understand how to help the guy next to them in a way that's maybe different than the coach. And if they can take that into their coaching careers, they'll be very successful. And I think that is beautifully on display during the conversation pieces that get highlighted that we typically don't get to see without a show like this in quarterback between O'Connell and Cousins, but you also see it between Reed and Mahomes and Nagy and Mahomes and Bieniemy and Mahomes as well, because Patrick runs hot. He's got a very high standard, and especially like when he got hurt, he was pissed that they were going to take him out and make him go get an x-ray to make sure his ankle wasn't broken. The way they handled it, you see that is they understood that he was going to be upset, and they didn't get mad at him for being upset. They just got what they needed to do done, and in that way, you see kind of the magic of what makes a special coach. And, if you want a Commander's tie, it's why I would have considered O'Connell after 2019. They ultimately go with Rivera for many of the same reasons. He's seen to be as a guy who can do all this stuff, and we've seen different examples of it in Ron's time here. But I was never afraid that O'Connell, I do think that him going to coach under Sean for a year was great for him, and he's a better coach now for that year he spent in L.A. But I would have not been afraid to give O'Connell the head coaching job when it seemed like it was a year or two too early, because he's understood that human element of coaching the entire time that he's been, at least the entire time that I covered him, which includes his stint as a quarterbacks coach and a passing game coordinator here, and then ultimately the OC under Jay Gruden and into that 2019 season before he left, following when Rivera arrived. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Much lighter and fun question off the show, quarterback. Who do you want to see next year featured on the show? 301-230-0980. Do you want to see Sam Howell? Do you not want to see Sam Howell? I got a couple guys that I would love to go behind the scenes with. We'll talk about it next here on the Team 980. show, Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/@theteam980. Gilly the Kid says, "What's up, fellas?" What's up, Gilly the Kid? How you doing? How you doing there in internet land? You can leave your comments live on the stream at youtube.com/@theteam980. Don't forget our Burgundy and Sold party coming up this Thursday, 4:30 are the doors at the Bullpen here in Navy Yard. We'll be broadcasting live. All our friends will be there. You'll be there. Bands will be there. Beer will be there. Food will be there. Anthony will be there. I guess I said we'll be there, but just so people are very clear, I will be there. Anthony will be there. Maybe we'll just play I Just Want to Rock and just let you dance the entire time. We'll just put you on stage. What do you do that?
That's not bad, you know? It's not a bad idea.
We'll talk to the bosses about it. See what they say. Hey, CK, can we have an Anthony dancing segment on the stage? I'm just saying. It's what the people want. Again, if you missed the breaking news, Mark Maskey and Nikki Giavallo report for the Washington Post that the NFL and Dan Snyder have agreed on all the legalities that needed to be cleared up. They've also taken an unofficial vote for the $6.05 billion sale plan. They've approved that. It was kind of a straw poll, as not all 8 members of the Finance Committee were together. This was also a remote meeting. But all is clear for Thursday when the full ownership will get together in Minneapolis to vote and approve the sale, and what I would anticipate is a unanimous vote to approve Josh Harris and boot Dan Snyder from the league. You then go through all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff, and I think that's going to be done as soon as Friday. Thursday on the show, obviously, as things happen, if there's, sound from Harris and Goodell, we will bring that to you live, so you do not want to miss Thursday's show. Plus whatever else, the party on the radio that we'll be having as that gets approved Thursday. And then there's been rumblings that there will be a press conference with Josh Harris on Friday. Kimes out on his pod, he anticipates it being at FedEx Field. So we'll obviously have Josh Harris for you on Friday. No idea what time that is. I would say this, Anthony, if it's not during the show, I'll be at FedEx Field. I'm gonna have to go to that for sure. Yes, hello, Josh. Greg Hoffman, Team 980. Got a question for you. Do you actually think that they'd hire a British fella to do the afternoon show? No, that's rubbish. I don't know, man. Don't look at me like that.
Yeah, you're a funny guy, man.
I try.
Funny guy.
I try. Tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. We'll see. One of the next 2 days. I want to we're going to do a little role play. I'm going to be Josh Harris, and I'm going to let all the callers call in, all the listeners call in, all the viewers call in, and ask me questions as if I was Josh Harris, and I will have to play Josh Harris and answer them. So that's coming over the next couple of days. But right now, picking up on where we left off with quarterback of the Netflix series. So this year you saw Mahomes, Cousins, and Marcus Mariota. Anthony, who gets season 2? Who do you want to see? I think from watching the series, I know you got a couple more episodes left, but I think there was a real benefit of having an elite guy, kind of a something to prove guy, and someone battling for their job, which they didn't necessarily know going into the year, but kind of that Mariota was going to have Ritter on his heels. I don't know when exactly they made the decision to follow Mariota, but kind of that on the fringe type of guy. So I think we should pick one of each, but I'm open to ideas. Who comes to mind for you? Who do you want to see this year?
I want to see Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh, that's a good one.
I would love to see him. I think he's sort of kind of a guy that has something to prove, that's, also fringe to an extent. So I would say Tua.
That's a really good one. I also think something that makes the show is the coaches.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel would be fantastic.
Is incredible, especially on Netflix where you can cuss.
Oh, yeah.
Because Mike McDaniel does not give you know what.
Yeah.
So I think for the coaching reason, I would love Brock Purdy.
I was just thinking that as well.
Kyle is fascinating. Any insight I can get into Kyle Shanahan, I want. Also, Purdy's, like, the thing is, though, like, I actually don't know who the better guy is. Is it Purdy or Baker? Because I think there's a low-key chance that if Purdy's not ready for the start of the season, Baker comes in and plays really well, and he winds up winning the job, essentially.
No way. Over Trey?
Yeah. I think the Niners are out on Trey Lance. The Niners people like I follow on Twitter and kind of the vibes out of San Francisco. I mean, I think Purdy's their guy, but I think Baker's so talented, and if you can just get him in the right box and have him do the things that he's supposed to do and eliminate mistakes, which is like what Kyle does well. Yeah, man. Wait, no, Baker's in Tampa.
I was about to say he's with the Bucks.
Darnold, sorry, wrong former Panthers.
Sam Darnold.
Like Darnold would be pretty fascinating.
Okay. I was confused. I had to do a fact check.
My bad. I saw you starting to Google, and I was like,
yeah, I was confused.
No, Sam Darnold.
Okay.
Yeah. But same thing, right?
I don't know.
Can we get the 49ers quarterbacks? That's what I want. That's what I want.
Yes. Sorry.
Give me that. I actually don't think Burrow's that interesting. Like, Burrow is, but isn't that interesting.
But the people around him.
But it's really about him. Like, that's the thing. The show is quarterback, and it is legitimately about quarterback.
So if you didn't go Burrow, I wasn't thinking Burrow. I was more so thinking Josh Allen.
I'm interested in that. I think my elite level guy, though, I either want Jalen.
Yes.
Or Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence would be awesome because the relationship between him and Peterson is big time, and I'm in on that.
I still think
Jalen, like, coming off the season he just had, seeing him continue to grow as a passer and how they run things inside into that team, Sirianni, new OC, like, Jalen feels like a must.
Yeah, that's different. I'm thinking Trevor Lawrence is in the same like tier as a Tua. Like I still think he has more to prove. The Jags, they ended up going to the playoffs. What were they? 8-9 or like I don't know. I think it was
the Jags were 9-8 last year.
9-8, somewhere around there. But I still think they have a lot more to prove. So I wouldn't necessarily put them with the elite right now. But Jalen Hurts, I do think is a very good person to feature in there for all the reasons you just mentioned. You know, new OC, Nick Sirianni still there. I don't know. It could be fascinating.
There aren't a lot of guys, frankly, that I wouldn't want to see. Like, I'll run down them all real quick. I got the standings in front of me from last year. Josh Allen, yep, I'm in.
Yep.
Tua, I'm in. Mac Jones, are you kidding me? Hell yeah, I'm in for watching that drama. Aaron Rodgers, we're going to get him in Hard Knocks, but, like, I'm interested. I don't love Aaron Rodgers. I don't want to give him attention, but, like, I'd watch. Burrow, definitely, although he feels a little bit straightforward and boring, but I don't know. Maybe we'll learn something more about Joe Burrow. Lamar, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kenny Pickett, low-key interesting. Like, as a young guy, Tomlin.
Yeah, the steel curtain. I think it's
how do they do it? Yeah. Deshaun Watson can kick rocks. The Jags, Lawrence, yes. Tannehill's actually a guy I'm low-key fascinated by. He is, for the second straight year now, like, kind of battling off the next guy who's going to come in. Like, he's almost exactly where Mariota was.
Yep.
And so I'm definitely interested in that. Anthony Richardson, obviously. C.J. Stroud, obviously. Mahomes just did it. Herbert, yeah, I'm interested. Garoppolo, where, like, McDaniels could get fired mid-season if Jimmy G's not good. Yeah. Russell Wilson, especially if they do a lot of family life stuff, like you get Sierra in the show.
Yeah.
That's a win. Eagles, yes. Cowboys always are interesting with Dak. Daniel Jones, fascinated. Signed me up yesterday. Jones and Dayball and Mike Kafka, what they were able to concoct last year, yes. Obviously, I'm interested in Howell and Bieniemy and that crew. Kirk did it last year. Lions, hell yeah. Goff fighting off a rookie, but also they're partially looking ahead to the future, but partially are like, could we make the NFC Championship game?
Yeah.
So, super interested. Jordan Love with LaFleur, yeah. Fields, absolutely. Mayfield and them in Tampa, okay, maybe I'm not that interested. I mean, it would in the Mariota type of sense, like it'd be good television, but whatever. Panthers with Bryce Young, absolutely. Saints with Carr, Mariota category. Can he revive his career? I'm interested. Falcons with Ritter, Niners, yes, with pick your quarterback. Seahawks with Geno, can he do it again? I'm interested. Rams, can Stafford get back? Plus you get McVay? Absolutely. Cardinals, okay, that one's not interesting because when is Kyler coming back?
Yeah, and Kyler, yeah.
But that's like, what, 29 of the teams that are like, hell yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, that's damn near the whole league.
That's why the NFL is king.
I think we just want to see the behind-the-scenes stuff. I think that's more so what we're interested in.
For sure. I'm also fascinated who gets midseason Hard Knocks. Because the Jets got preseason. Who gets the in-season? Last year it was Arizona.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think a lot of people watched it, though. I mean, some people.
I mean, I did.
Yeah.
I watched it every week.
But I just feel like their trajectory was towards it was down.
Yeah, but it was still interesting to watch it unfold on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
Like you get the behind the scenes stuff. It just depends. I don't know. I hope the Patriots get it. I want behind the scenes with Belichick.
You want to see Bill Belichick.
You just be a bunch of blank cameras and the microphones would be unplugged. Like Bill sabotaged the whole show. Again? Yeah. Yeah. All right, it's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We get back. Real things, real people said, into real microphones. Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Wrapping up the show, real things, real people said into real microphones in just a minute. Tomorrow on the show, and we've actually got a bunch of stuff. One, we never got to today because of the breaking news about Dan Snyder and the league agreeing to all of the things. We never got to our best players of the 21st Century series. So we'll hit the AFC South tomorrow. And then I think we just have the North left. I think after that we do AFC South tomorrow, and then maybe Wednesday we'll do AFC and NFC North.
Yep.
That's it? That's all we got left?
Mm-hmm.
What else we got tomorrow? I know we've been talking about getting Z on the show.
Yeah, we might get Z on. He's been tied into meetings and training today. And he's on a West Coast time, so he's 3 hours behind us. So figure that out tomorrow. Today.
Okay, so we might have Zaire Franklin back on the show. We'll get Z before camp. We don't have a lot of time, but I feel confident we can figure that out. Producer special on that one. It's easier when it's your best friend. So we have Zaire Franklin, Colts linebacker, on either tomorrow or over the next couple of days. Ben Standing's been doing a lot of stuff to kind of wrap up the Snyder era, put a bow on it. He did a best of the Snyder era roster and a worst. We're going to talk about him, or talk about that with him tomorrow at 5. Take Command, super interesting. We did two things on Take Command. We recorded it earlier today. It's out first thing in the morning. One, we talked to Ross Tucker, who, of course, longtime NFL analyst, Westwood One, CBS Sports, etc. And then we also kind of went back last week. We did a deep dive on the Play Caller series with McVay and all them, with Jordan Rodrigue, who was the creator and host of that. Logan and I had a bunch of leftover stuff that we wanted to talk about, and we went deep on some of the 2012 team stuff. So longtime fans, and especially kind of appropriate this week with the Snyder era coming to a close, we talked about that extensively. So, if you don't want to wait, check out the podcast in the morning if you want to, say, listen to the Junkies on your ride to work, but, don't have time to listen to the full pod and want to catch some of it. We'll probably play a snippet of that tomorrow on the show as well. I feel like we had a bunch of good ideas during the show today, Anthony. You might have to listen back to the whole show to find out what good ideas we had. Or do you remember them?
I'm blanking.
I am too. But we had good ideas.
Yep.
And so we also had good ideas in the text thread. So we got a good show plan for tomorrow. We just can't remember what it is at the moment, which is why you always tune in to find out. All right, time for real things. That's a
Real
fine.
things.
That's a fine.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
That's a fine, Haney.
I had the mouse on the wrong.
I would say, was that an operator error or a computer error?
It was more so I have two computers and the mouse is up here instead of down here on
Stuck.
the button.
All right, I'll let you off the hook on that
Thank
one.
you.
Also, I was opening the sound, so did you signal to me what time is the out time?
I definitely did.
Okay, well, I missed it, so you're going to have to tell me again when I play this first soundbite. That first soundbite is coming from Miss Asia Wilson, captain of Team Wilson, the WNBA All-Star Game, who had quite the excuse for her team in Las Vegas, her hometown, losing to Team Stewart, led by Brianna Stewart.
My team didn't follow their curfew. We had a curfew last night, and I don't think they got there. So
did someone check your room?
Yeah. Listen, I was out checking everybody else's room. They didn't need to check mine.
I was supplying water to my team. I was just making sure everybody was hydrated and ready to go.
Joint press conference there after the game with Asia, Brittany Griner, and Brianna Stewart. By the way, I said this earlier, but oh my God, Brittany Griner mic'd up was hilarious. If you missed that, go find that on the interweb somewhere from the WNBA All-Star Game on Saturday. All-Star Friday night saw Sabrina Ionescu. I still can't believe this number drew. Scored 37. 37. She made 20 shots in a row in the three-point contest, and that got a shout-out / a call-out from Stephen Curry.
Win a golf tournament or win a three-point contest?
Ooh, that's well, now I got to go after Sabrina's record, so I got something to shoot for now that she went crazy with the 37 points in their All-Star weekend. So I guess we got to settle that one for sure. Who's the better three-point competition shooter?
It's from NBA Today with Malika Andrews. Would you rather see Steph just go for it in the three-point contest next year, or would you rather see like a, Steph on one end, Sabrina on the other, head-to-head competition?
I would rather see a head-to-head competition. I think that record, 37 out of a possible 40 points, I think it's safe. I don't think we'll ever get another performance like that. So I would rather just see them go head-to-head one night to prove it all.
But the thing is, then if Steph wins, Sabrina can still be like, yeah, but you didn't get my record.
Hey, look, that record is safe.
I would tell you what I would love, legit, is like I would love Sabrina and some of the other top shooters from the W to be in the All-Star weekend for the NBA. Like let's get some of these dudes who are not quite the best three-point shooters in the league out and get some of the best shooting ladies in.
I think they will win. The ladies will win.
I think that would be awesome. I think we go for it. All right, we'll see you tomorrow here on the Hoffman Show, standing again at 5 o'clock. You missed any part of the show, check out the podcast, and we'll be here in all the places you're listening and watching right now tomorrow.